there we go. All right, so as I mentioned, we met with some of our seniors today, and we're going to meet with the rest of them next Wednesday. And what I'm presenting to you is an abbreviated Google presentation that we shared with our students. We did give them access to it. If for some reason your student didn't catch the QR code or the link, just email their counselor, and their counselor would be able to share that with you. So a couple of resources that are really available and valuable to students is Naviance. Naviance is a website where students can research colleges. They can sign up for a virtual college visit with a representative. They can research career paths, find scholarship information, and take some self-assessments. I wish more students took advantage of Naviance, but you can encourage your student to do that by they'll use their fcpsschools.net email address and their password to log on. FCPS has also created a college and career resources Google site. And we are in the process of creating one that pertains to Annandale High School students. We're hoping that that's going to be ready to go sometime within the next week. Okay. So today when I met with my seniors, I encouraged them to start solidifying their list of colleges to apply to. In general, 6 to 8 colleges is a good average number. Some students will apply to less than that. Some students will apply to more. However many are on their list, we would like for them to be sure to cover these 3 categories. So a reach school could be an academic reach. What does that mean? That means whatever is on a student's transcript, high school transcript, which includes all the high school courses that they've taken, their final grades, and their grade point average. That's basically what's on a high school transcript. So a reach school could be whatever's on their high school transcript, doesn't quite match what a college is looking for, or it could be a financial reach. We do encourage students to put at least a couple reach schools on their list. We want them to have a few match schools where their high school transcript, their GPA, their high school curriculum matches what they're looking for. And then everybody needs a backup plan. So that's what a safety school is a backup plan. It's a school where the student's transcript far exceeds what the college is looking for. For our students, we have Nova a few miles down the road, which is great. Which is very much more affordable than four-year college tuition. And a lot of our students start off at Nova for various reasons. So that could be a backup school for students. We also want students to consider these factors, the cost, obviously. Are you looking at a private school versus a public institution? Are you looking at out-of-state tuition versus in-state tuition? We want them to consider the size of a school. I tell students there are colleges out there that are the size of Annandale, which is 2,300 students. There are colleges, universities out there that are 20 to 30,000 students for their undergraduate population. And then there's the in-between. The setting, do they see themselves on an urban campus or a suburban campus like George Mason? Or do they see themselves more like on a rural campus out in the countryside? Obviously, they want to consider academic programs. If you have a student who knows or has a good idea of what they want to study or major in. Obviously, you want to make sure that the colleges they apply to have those majors. Consider the campus life. Some students, they have always wanted to go to a school where Division I sports is really big and everyone goes to the football games or basketball games. For some students, that's important, and other students, it really isn't important. So the campus life is important. It would be ideal for students to be able to visit the campuses. I'm not really sure how many colleges are really opening up to in-person tours right now. But if a virtual tour is what they're offering, then yes, take the virtual tour. And then we want them to consider the academic competitiveness of the schools that they apply to. So these are some of the essential components of a college application, and each college is going to have something different. We want them to start looking at application deadlines, whether the colleges that they're applying to use the common application or the coalition application or something else, and I'll go over that in a little bit. How many essay questions are on the application? You might see some applications that require one essay, and then there's an optional essay. And I always tell students, look, if you ever see the word optional on an application, like an optional essay question or optional SAT, if you really are interested in that college, do the optional essay, because that shows that you are willing to put forth that extra effort. Teacher recommendations. How many teacher recommendations does this school want? Do they want one? Do they want three? I tell students, if a college application wants one teacher recommendation, don't have three teachers send a recommendation letter, just have one. Does your application require a counselor recommendation? What is the FAFSA application deadline? And the FAFSA is the federal form that everyone needs to complete in order to apply for financial aid. And then lastly, are SAT or ACT tests required, or are your colleges test optional? So imagine your student applying to eight schools, and every school is going to have something different. It can be really overwhelming. So staying organized is really key. And taking it day by day is also good for not getting too stressed out about it. And some students will do a spreadsheet. So they'll keep track of this information on a spreadsheet. Other students might want a checklist, okay? And they can always ask their counselors for suggestions about how to keep all of this information organized. So there are different college application deadlines. So there, the two early applications, early decision and early action, those application deadlines are usually November 1st. There are some that are even October 15th, but a lot of them are November 1st, November 15th, November 30th, maybe December 1st. What's the difference between early decision and early action? Early decision is only for a student who is applying to a school and saying, if you accept me, I will go to your school. So it is a binding agreement. You are promising them that you will attend their school if they accept you. So unless a student is 100% sure that they want to go to that school and they can afford to go to that school, they should not apply early decision unless they are sure. Early action, on the other hand, is an early application, but it is not a binding agreement. You can apply to multiple schools early action because you are not saying, if you accept me, I will go to your school. If a student is applying early decision, they should not be applying anywhere else. Anywhere else early decision. Only one school should be early decision. So regular decision deadlines are typically January 1st, January 15th, January 30th. Those are just typical regular decision deadlines. There are some that are before that and some that are after January. And rolling admissions, there are some colleges who have rolling admissions. So they basically review applications on an ongoing basis. There's no specific deadline. They will review applications and then notify students of their decision within a certain amount of time. Okay, so the types of college applications. So common application has become more and more common, more and more used. There are many schools and colleges and universities that use the common application. What is that? That is basically you creating a common app account, and as long you can complete one application and have that sent to multiple schools. So it's efficient, it's less work. Now, there might be you might have 3 common app schools, and there might be a little difference between the 3. Like one of them might want an additional essay. Okay, so you do have to pay attention to those details. But that's basically what the common app is. It's sending the same application to multiple schools. A lot of schools do accept common app. The coalition app is similar. You would create a coalition account, and not as many schools accept coalition as common app, but there are several that do. Some schools will accept either the common app or the coalition app. So if you have a choice, you'd have to pick one or the other. We generally say if a lot of your schools are common app, might as well do the common app over the coalition app, but it really is an individual choice. So for the common application, students must invite their counselor as the recommender. So they go into their common application account and they have to add their counselor's name and email address. If they do not do that, their transcripts and documents will not be sent, because counselors go into their common app portal and to upload the transcript, the school profile, any counselor recommendation. So that is one important step with the common app, is to add your counselor. For teacher recommendations, they also have to add their teachers as their recommenders in their common app account. And I always try to tell students, look, you might want to ask your teacher for a recommendation letter before they receive a message saying that their student says that you're going to give them a recommendation, so upload it here. So just to give them a heads up would be a good idea. Okay. The coalition application and any others. So there are some schools that don't do common app or coalition. Maybe they use their own application. Those documents are uploaded through Naviance. Okay. Essays. So all the senior English teachers are working with their students to write at least one college essay. So, so that's really helpful. Students should proofread multiple times. They should ask someone else to proofread their essays before submitting them. Okay, a couple more details about recommendation letters. I think I mentioned some of this stuff already. If the application wants one teacher recommendation, they really only want one. They don't want more than that. Give your teachers and your counselor plenty of time to write a recommendation. I have friends who say, oh, you're a counselor, you have this form letter, right? And you just change the name of the student on the form letter and you just send it out to colleges. And no, we don't do that. We want to use the recommendation letter to help set apart students from other applicants. The only thing is we really need information from students, and we can't write what we don't know. So counselors give students, we call it a brag sheet. It's basically a questionnaire. The students who put time and thought into answering those questions, those letters are much easier to write. And I know for some students, it's really hard to brag about themselves, but yeah, it's really important. I can't write what I don't know about a student. And then there's also a parent brag sheet, by the way. So if parent, that's optional. So if a parent wants to give some comments about a student, I mean, I would certainly welcome them. All right, so transcript request. The process for requesting an official transcript to be sent from our school directly to the colleges, so there is a process. So step one of that process is for students to submit, we call it a consent for release form. It is a Fairfax County form that gives permission to the school to release a transcript and other documents to colleges. We can't do it unless we have your permission. Today, when we met with seniors, we gave out hard copies of that form. If a student is 18 or over, they don't need a parent signature. Everyone else does need a parent signature. Once they turn that hard copy form in to Mr. Abdulhadi, who is who processes all of our transcripts, he sits right out in front in student services. He will keep that form on file, and that only needs to be submitted once. So the second step is to complete an electronic form called the transcript request form. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. It's an electronic form. We want students to download the PDF. They can type into it, and then save it on their computer and then email it to Mr. Abdulhadi. We need these transcript requests 30 calendar days before the application deadline, because pretty soon we're going to be getting many of these transcript requests all at one time. So the first 3 transcript requests are free, and each additional one is $5, and you can pay cash or through My School Bucks. Students would also use this form if they're applying to scholarships, and the scholarships are asking for an official transcript, and there is no fee for scholarship transcript requests. So this is what the form looks like, and I'm sorry, it might look really teeny tiny for those of you who are participating on this Zoom through your phone or really small laptop or tablet, but this is what the form looks like. This is the front side. It gives the college application deadlines over here on the right column, and on the left column are the dates that a student needs to submit their transcript requests by. Okay. So you would download this PDF, you can type into it, fill out the information at the top, read through these bullet points, and then fill out the back part. The second side of it is where students write down the name of, in each row, write down the name of the school, the application deadline, what kind of application is it early action, early decision, regular decision, what kind of application they're using. Is it a common app, a coalition app, or is it a scholarship application? And then yes or no to is a counselor recommendation letter required. Once they complete this form, they should email it to Mr. Abdulhadi. Mr. Abdul Hadi will log in this information and then hand it over to the counselor. And then the counselor will upload transcripts and what other documents we have. So at the semester, colleges are going to want semester grades. Students do not have to go back to their counselors or Mr. Abdul Hadi to say, hey, can you send my semester grades? As long as a student has submitted a transcript request form, we will automatically send semester grades to any of those schools that we have a form for. Okay, so you don't have to make another request at the semester. At the end of the school year, students will let us know where they want us to send their final transcript. This is Mr. Abdul Hadi. He sits right in the front of our department. He is the one who takes the transcript requests. They should not go to the counselor. Mr. Abdul Hadi has to process them and log in some information. So yeah, they go directly to him. This QR code is basically his email address and phone number. But yeah, he sits right out in the front. Mr. Yeagle, we just got a new college and career specialist. We were without one for a couple months, but Mr. Yeagley just started. He is our career center used to be right next to our department. It's still very close by, but the location has moved. Mr. Yeagley will probably be organizing some financial aid workshops and other events to help students, not just seniors, but students of all grade levels, but financial aid workshops for seniors and their parents. If you've never applied for financial aid before, it is a very detailed process. It's certainly for someone who is doing the application for the first time, probably wouldn't hurt to just have someone help you with that if you need it. And so I would keep an eye out for information or announcements on financial aid help. So a couple words on scholarships. There are a ton of scholarships out there. There are scholarships for students who have a certain grade point average, but it's not just grades. There are scholarships for students who maybe their parent works for a particular company and that company offers a scholarship. There are scholarships for students who fit a certain demographic. Naviance is a great place to look for scholarships. There are a ton of scholarships listed in Naviance. And the great thing about Naviance is that those scholarships have been vetted by Fairfax County Public Schools, which means they've been reviewed and you do not have to worry that they are scams. Please be careful when you do look into scholarships. There's always people out there that are trying to scam innocent people. So you just want to make sure that whatever scholarship you apply for is legitimate. It takes work to look for scholarship money. When a student goes to Naviance, there's a long list of scholarships, and they basically have to click each one to find out, okay, do I meet the criteria for this scholarship? How much is this scholarship worth? What do I need to do? Do they need a transcript? Do I need to write an essay? Is it a scholarship that's just a one-time scholarship, or is it, like all throughout college, and so forth? But it is worth it if you put the work into it. But yeah, it does take effort to look into that information. So starting today, we had our first Thursday college application workshop after school in room 90. It was from 3 o'clock to 4 p.m. We had a teacher there. We had a few counselors there, and students came to work on college stuff. And it was a great turnout. There are also some avid students, and some of the avid students are a little further along in terms of their applications process. They're there to help, but it is available, it is open to students. We encourage you to come and ask questions or just sit down and start working on your common application. And if you have any questions, you have people right there who can answer it for you. If you are having trouble figuring out the transcript request process, you have people right there to just basically walk you through it. Okay. Listen, our students, you know, communication with students is always an ongoing challenge because some students read emails and some students don't. And I tell students, look, we still communicate by email. We're trying to do social media. We're trying to do announcements. But yeah, check your emails, especially if your counselor emails you or Mr. Yeagley, the college and career specialist. Read them and see if they pertain to you. Some of them will and some of them won't. Some of them might contain really important information. So just don't ignore your emails is what I'm saying. All right, so let's see, we started at 7:15. So I think we're about at the end of this session. If anyone has some really quick questions, I'm happy to answer them. You can go ahead and unmute your mic if anyone has any questions. Okay, so here, so I see some questions in the chat, actually. Let me answer these real quick. Khalid said, is there a possibility to get a recorded date? I'm not sure, Khalid, I'm not sure exactly what, if you can clarify that question for me. Okay.
My question is, sorry, is this Khalid speaking right now?
Mm-hmm.
My question is, thank you for your explanation.
You're welcome.
I got a lot of information because the second for me to send a call to college. For the first one, I don't have any information. I suffer a lot. But right now, I got a lot of knowledge from you, so thank you for it very much. But because of the information is, the amount of the information is many, so is there any possibility to listen what you say this evening? I mean, the record, what you explain for us, to review again, because it's
yeah. So I am recording this session, and the other people should be recording their sessions also. So we are going to try to make that available to people. Like I said, we have a college and career Google site that we are working on. Hopefully it'll be ready within the next week, and we would post these sessions on that Google site. And your students, if we met with your senior today during W4 period, then they did have access to the Google slide presentation. And if they didn't, just email the counselor and the counselor could get that to you.
Thank you.
Okay. And Jaden B also asked a question about a form. Are you talking any form that I went over today? There are links on the Google slide presentation, but you can also email your counselor, and the counselor can also provide those forms. Are there any last questions? I'll take one more question and then I think we have to get going. Okay. Okay, I think that's it then. Please feel free to reach out to your student's counselor if you do have any questions. But thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening and for listening to these presentations. We really appreciate it. And we are here to support you and your student. Okay. Good night, everybody. Oh, we have 2 more minutes, actually. You're welcome. Okay. All right. Good night. Have a great weekend. Well, we have Friday, but after tomorrow, have a great weekend.